Well, people ask me about my favorite stories from John McCain. You don't have enough time, but two come to mind. One's pretty funny. The other is just defines John. In 2007, in the summer of 2007, John was fifth in a four-person race for president in the Republican primary. He'd run out of money. There were no wheels left on the Straight Talk Express. Cindy was helping John get around the country. I was carrying his bag, and it's pretty pitiful, really. So John and I go over to Iraq to take a break from American politics. John is at a 4th of July celebration in Saddam's palace, hosted by General Petraeus, where he's speaking to soldiers who are becoming American citizens and soldiers who are re-enlisting. It was hot as hell. The room was packed with a couple thousand people to hear John. He was marvelous. There were two empty chairs on the front row of the group becoming American citizens because they had been killed a couple of days before the soldiers had, but they were given their citizenship posthumously. John stayed around till everybody got a photo. We're there for 2 hours. We're on the runway in a C-130. It must have been 150 degrees. And John looked at me and he said, if they're not going to quit, I'm not going to quit. And I think that began the comeback of the No Surrender Tour. Started there in Baghdad when John McCain was on the ground with the soldiers in very dire circumstances, sacrificing for their country. I'll never forget that as long as I live. The love and appreciation our military had for Senator McCain was overwhelming. And we literally stayed there till everybody had a photo. So that will stick with me to the day I die. The other thing about John is there's no good fight he didn't want to be part of. I remember one time we were on a Codell and he read in the paper 500 protesters killed by a government, and he says, we got to go. I says, why do we have to go? We got to stand up with these people. I said, well, 502 is not going to make it a better deal. So we change our plans. We go to this country. We land. John's insisting that we go talk to the government about their oppressive ways. The embassy is beginning to take the photo of Bush down and begin to shred all the documents. They're getting ready to leave town. And John asked how it's going. And the guy said, not so good. That didn't deter Senator McCain at all. As the embassy was packing up, we went and had a news conference with all the protesters, the ones that were alive and they were beaten and battered. And John McCain looked into the eye, looked into the camera, and gave the government an earful. And I said, well, there are two sides to every story, because I wanted to get the hell out of there. But that's typical John McCain, go right in the middle of a mess and try to make it better. And on the way out, when we took off, I said, thank you, Lord. And the bird hit a plane. We had to turn back and land, and we made it. But that's John McCain, man. There's no place he wouldn't go. There's nothing he wouldn't do to stand up for those without a voice. I miss him every day, and God bless Senator McCain.